Hello, welcome back everybody. What a show, what a day. We're going to start with a deep dive into the right just eating itself alive. The Candace TPUSA conflict, Candace's challenge for ERIKA KIRK, Milo Yiannopoulos jumping in, Tim Pool jumping in, Nick Fuentes, and it's like you can't guess who's gonna go with who and where the battle lines are being drawn. And it's directly connected to KIRK's assassination and then all of the media that Candace has done, all the content that she's done after that. But it seems like something deeper is going on, and I don't know if even when this is not the topic anymore, the post-KIRK assassination, if those battle lines will go away necessarily. Before diving into it, though, because this is the first segment in today's show, again, welcome, and I just want to give you a sense. I have that energy today, the good one. You never know what it's going to be. I was feeling very much when I woke up at 3 a.m. for some reason and couldn't go back to bed this morning, but good. I'm sure I'll crash, but I feel good right now. I felt very much like the Palantir CEO in this video.
A lot of decisions when we began talking, annoying each other 10 years ago. Hopefully I'm annoying you as much as 10 years ago or more. When I made you know this, every decision Palantir made, FDAs, going public, building products, enterprise, large data sets, going to government, acknowledging American superiority, being pro-meritocracy, launching an AI platform, calling into question that AI models would actually be able to perform without orchestration. Every single one, our ontology, every single one of those was viewed as stupid.
That's how I feel today. That's how I feel. So I wore a fun sweater. You always know my mood by my outfits. Now, and then we'll get into the thick of it. It's gonna be long, probably, even just this first segment diving into the Candace and the conflict. But I don't feel quite as good as Don Jr. does here. Podcast, let's just probably a little quiet. Wait, gosh, I just need a little something, you know. Maybe I'll just hide behind this person, take a little second, and. Wowza! I don't feel quite that good.
I don't snort cocaine.
Not quite that good. All right, let's start with this. So if you guys don't watch this and watch at least almost all the way through, it's going to drive me crazy. Only because I've sank so many hours into just trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Because we're kind of over here covering your big news, what's going on in the government most frequently. And so I'm up to date with all that. But there's this whole other world going on every time I open X, which is all of the right-wing infighting, mostly about or related to the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the aftermath. Candace Owens being at the center of it, because after that, she has, again, I would have to spend way more hours than even I did to figure it all out. What she's saying about everything keeps going in all different directions, but she's gone far beyond the law enforcement arrest justification with Tyler Robinson. Now we're talking about like a French element. I think, okay, if I can best summarize, this is where I think her series has gotten of her investigation. France, Israel, US, maybe Egypt, Turning Point USA, and a lot of media figures and a bunch of other people are all playing some role or played some role in the assassination, or at least the cover-up afterwards. And she said pretty explicitly that the Trump administration was in on it. And then, like I said, all these other individuals. So it's going all over the place. Turning Point USA got brought into it, where now she's saying they're acting strange by her judgment. And she won't say, I don't think she says explicitly that Turning Point USA killed Charlie Kirk, but it'll be like they're doing some sort of cover-up about what really happened. And so, of course, they finally had to come out and respond. And this is part one of what I've figured out about what's going on here, which is the dispute over who backed out of a debate they were going to do, where the Turning Point folks were going to defend their honor. Candace Owens was going to defend all of her claims and the adventures that she's been going on for weeks. And then someone backed out. That's what we'll try to figure out. Here was the Turning Point USA spokespeople saying, we've tried not to address these claims about what happened to our former boss, but now we're going to, once and for all.
We wanted to use this segment at the top of this hour to say something important, something very important. For the past 2.5 months, there is a topic that has flooded our Freedom inbox. It has been nonstop on social media, but which we have almost totally avoided on this show. You probably already know what I'm talking about, which shows just how ubiquitous it has been.
And I think a ton of the discourse around this is so toxic. So toxic. And a lot of people are just milking this for every view they can. So I'm not trying to play into that by saying what I'm about to, which is only saying what I will not say, which is some people say something's weird about doing the Charlie Kirk show in his studio. Please don't, if ever. I think it would be if they just started doing my show afterwards and didn't even change it to the Jaden and Cole show, and it was just my show in my studio, but I'm not there. Bizarre imagery is what other people say. They use that example too. They say if Luke B's, that's what they say. They say Jaden and Cole. This is what they say out on the internet, not me. Okay, but that's irrelevant. I'm just saying that has been something people have taken note of. But again, I am sympathetic to the argument of what is correct. We can do all this. That seems weird. That seemed weird. Why are you acting that way, this way? But like with such an unprecedented event, there's not a rule book for how you move forward. Fair. The photo and the studio and all of it, but it's very serious. So we'll stop that there and play more of this clip. While I do, please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate the show. I'm going to do the best as we go through this to synthesize what I've tried to learn about what's going on and everyone's different take and why this person's going against, this person's going forward, this person's at this party, this person's doing this. And click the subscribe button if you appreciate that. And like always, despite the gravity of this, we're going to try to induce a little lightheartedness into it.
Ever since Charlie's murder, Candace Owens has leveled a flood of allegations against people at Turning Point USA, people at Turning Point Action, and people who work for this show. She has made them against some of Charlie's closest friends and against some of his most dedicated employees.
And then he goes through a bunch of them. This is an 8-minute clip. We're not going to watch it, except for just to get to the big part of when he says, we're inviting her to come debate this.
Or approval. Still, we decided Charlie would not allow this to go on. Charlie was not a coward. Charlie was a fighter. Charlie would not allow someone to spread lies about the people closest to him with impunity. And he would feel ashamed if other people were stepping up to defend his friends while he never did so himself. Candace has mentioned several times that the ball is in our court. So here's what is going to happen. In the near future, there will be a live stream here in Phoenix where we address in a clear and comprehensive way the claims and accusations, the false accusations that have been made against Charlie's family, friends, and the people here at Turning Point. We plan to walk through everything carefully and thoroughly. If Candace is available, we would sincerely welcome her participation in that live stream at our studio here in Phoenix.
Okay, so that's going to be a key part. Hold on to it. At our studio here in Phoenix. She's going to interpret that as they'll be there, I can be there, or I can be on Zoom. They interpret that as you need to be here with us in person. Now, I always really value trying to do these segments in a way that, since I'll see the numbers of how many new people start watching the channel like every day, and it reminds me that not everyone's been keeping up with everything all the time. And whenever I watch sometimes people doing breakdowns of things, I'm like, explained it more basically. I missed who is this guy? Who is this guy? So let me just remind you, I know this seems basic to some of you. Turning Point USA is the organization, and there's a bunch of connected organizations, that Charlie Kirk was really famous for founding and running. And so that's his org. And all of the continuation, doing his show and doing the TPUSA stuff, and now ERIKA KIRK, his wife, is the CEO of Turning Point, they say is an effort to continue the legacy and continue the work. So now they're all running Turning Point USA, which is this media enterprise, but then also it really started and really famous for the youth activism, getting the youth really MAGA. And it's been pretty influential in that. And so that's who the person you just heard from is speaking on behalf of. At one point, he says all of this, the challenge for the live stream, everything we're saying, is with the approval of ERIKA KIRK, which brings in an interesting element. ERIKA KIRK, again, wife of Charlie Kirk, because she now, it kind of makes sense. Candace has been doing all these segments saying Turning Point USA is telling this lie and doing this thing, and what did they know? When did they know it? Why did this person do this with their phone? Why did this happen? And why aren't they answering my questions? And they're covering it up. They're not acting right. What's difficult about trying to quickly give a summary of the months now of coverage she's done is her staple, as with a lot of conspiracy theorists, is like a bunch of really vague questions. So I can't really, and I don't want to be accused of misrepresenting what she's saying, but it's hard to exactly tell you exactly what she's saying, because like she'll say a lot of stuff about Turning Point, but if I went, you're saying they killed Charlie, she would go, well, I never said that explicitly. You're like, you did though, kind of. But okay, all right. So a cover-up. I know she's used that word. They're engaged in a cover-up and they're not acting right. And we don't know, but we know, right? That's the big line. We don't know, but we know. And so I never could have guessed that after this. I never could have guessed that's where this would go. Candace was a really good friend of Charlie. Presumably then she was close with ERIKA. ERIKA now runs Turning Point. So even though she'll deny that she's specifically saying something about ERIKA until this next clip and a couple clips from now where she does specifically mention ERIKA, but up until that point, people would go, oh, this is bad. Why are you, going after a grieving widow? And she said, I didn't say ERIKA, I said Turning Point. It's like, well, she runs Turning Point, but maybe it's happening under her nose and she doesn't know it. And so that's the really fascinating part of this is ERIKA runs Turning Point. And for a while, Candace would say, I'll stop if ERIKA asks me to. I think we've moved away from that now, but that's just some context in case you haven't been keeping up. Now we get to, you have Candace responding to that challenge of an in-person debate. But she didn't interpret it as in-person. He didn't say in-person explicitly. He said, we'll be here in Phoenix. And they sent out a post going like, hey, let us know by the end of the day. And she'll say some of this, but if you're available to come on some particular date. Let's watch her response.
So Turning Point issued an ultimatum, an invitation, gave me 24 hours to respond to a tweet that they sent at midnight. Very strange. Again, everything just seems to be very strange and unnecessary that is coming out of Turning Point USA. We're going to find out. You can pick the place. You can pick the time. I say we.
Oh, this was like someone calling her out. Okay. Because I have that clip for you where she goes, you can pick the place, you can pick the time. But there she went. It's very suspicious that they sent out a post. I think I could probably do it. Did I bring this post? Yeah, this is the post she's referring to of that guy, Blake Neff, saying the live stream we announced on the show Wednesday has been set 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. local time on Monday, December 15th. A collection of Charlie's friends will respond to statements made by Candace Owens to set the record straight once and for all prior to the opening of America Fest. We'll be live streaming from Charlie's Phoenix studio. Our offer from yesterday holds. If Candace wishes to join us in person in Phoenix, she's welcome to do so. She can let us know by the end of the day, to which she responded, kind of weird how you didn't email or call me to ask about times or availability and chose instead tweet this information out at midnight. Why am I learning about this on X? December 15th does not work in person, and 2 p.m. Pacific time is also the literal time I do my podcast live every day, which you knew, but we will happily cancel the podcast and we'll join you guys virtually instead for the live stream on the 15th. If that works on your end, let's lock it in. So a few things here. I mean, there's like aspect, I don't know how much y'all are interested in the nitty gritty of who seems to actually be trying to back out here. Maybe both, maybe neither. Maybe there's just a miscommunication. But it's true that I would have reached out directly. That makes sense if they wanted to lock this down before you announce it, to reach out directly. But I also don't understand some of the stuff in here. Like, that's the time I do my podcast. What is the thing you're talking about the podcast every day on? I missed some words there, but I've been up since 3. What do you mean your podcast? Yeah, this is the thing you're talking about. Of course, I think it actually might have been purposeful. That then it won't even mess with your schedule because you could do the live stream with them when you would do your... There's no way you could say your podcast where all you're talking about is this subject would interfere with them inviting you to do the big thing that you've been wanting to do, which is talk with them about the subject. So that's bizarre. But then she said, okay, I can't go in person because of something I later saw that she said her husband told her no, and he runs the house. She said, I asked my husband, he said no. And I said, yes, sir. But that he had a real conflict because family's coming in town or something like that, or people are coming in town. So she's saying she's busy. It's a little bit of a big oof to go name the time and place, bitches. And then they'll be like, okay, here's the time, here's the place. And you're like, okay, well, like on Zoom though. But then I also don't exactly get why they would go, which they later put in a post. I don't have it, but they later put in post, the Turning Point people, all right, we'll be moving forward without Candace because she said she can't come. But she was saying she could do it virtually. Now, if I were them, I kind of would understand wanting to do it in person. Like, I don't want you to have monitors around you. I don't want your producers to be helping you. I don't want an earpiece in. I don't want any of that. I want to see you right. I want you to say to my face that I'm covering up the murder. I want you to say it right here. And probably that's a better, production-wise, it probably would be cooler and more intense. But they probably should accept the virtual option too. So that's where that came from. That's why she's saying it's weird that at midnight they sent out this post saying it had been set, but they hadn't talked to me. And then they expect me in a day to be able to get my schedule together, decide if I can be there. And, you know, I submitted a request, a paper request to my husband, and he denied it. He vetoed it. And so it's just really difficult. So then, I mean, you have all that happening. She's now accusing them of trying to back up, but then she's saying, I'm still willing to do it. Just let me do it virtually, or we could find a different time when I could come in person. They're saying, we set the date. You said time and place, which you saw in that clip from before. So you should just come. Otherwise we're just going to do it without you, which I think defeats the purpose a little bit, at least for us. Like, I want to see the face to face. I want to see y'all actually debate this subject. And if you have any basic skills, you should be able to, quote unquote, exonerate yourself pretty effectively. Because in the span of the months, if you did your research, you could find some very difficult things for her to defend that she's said at different points. And I don't know if she's the best debater in the world either. It's a lot easier to look at a camera and read a script that you've written out thoughtfully and chosen when you're going to vaguely ask a question, when you're actually going to say, than in the moment having to defend it all. But I don't know if these Turning Point spokespeople have that skill set. That's the thing that could end up causing this to even throw another match on the fuel or whatever. Because watch a caller call into Turning Point and say, what's happening? I want y'all to figure things out with Candace. It's sad. And that's really the thesis of this story for all of you who aren't in this world of sort of MAGA and MAGA associated people, most likely, is the infighting that's expanding because of this. And we're only at the beginning. I haven't even introduced you to the Tim Pool of this all, but and it gets really interesting. And Milo starts just accusing everyone of being gay, even though we just watched him try to argue to Tucker Carlson that gay is not even real. He's just all over the place. But,
why are you gay?
I always forget the laughs coming after. It's very scary. But if they botch this, that's only going to give more fuel to the Candace fire. And they're definitely not, at least the Blake guy that you're going to see here, the best at answering some of these questions. Look at this caller call in and say, I want y'all to figure this out. I hate that the right's tearing itself apart. And he kind of glitches out for a second.
And she's saying she can't attend in person. Can she attend on a live stream or, and you guys do live streams all the time. And is that going to be an option?
Gina.
I'm just trying to make this come together.
Of course, Gina. So first of all, our initial statement, it was on the show on Wednesday. I made it at the request of ERIKA. All of this has been at the direction and approval of ERIKA because she heads this. And so what we were announcing there is we said she has said things that are not true, and we did not address them for a long time. We stated the reasons why, that we thought a lot of them were just not, how to put it, we initially just thought no one would believe a lot of what was being said, and we also just, we remembered the same friendship that Charlie had, and we just hoped that this would go away without requiring any sort of direct statement or confrontation from us. So what was approved is we announced we are going to respond to this, and what I said was we are going to announce a date soon. We actually hadn't agreed on it at the time I read the statement. We're going to announce a date where we're going to respond to this, and once we...
So then he goes on to kind of get his wits about himself, but here's the tough part. Almost anything can be used with how Candace is structuring her whole content arc here to further whatever narrative it is that she's going with whatever day. And so you gotta be cognizant of that, and then like be really good at what you do. And I don't know if Blake was the right person for Turning Point to choose, where he's like, how do I say that? No, what do you mean? Are you not ready for that question? It's those obvious questions you're gonna get. It's so interesting. But I mean, that kind of shows you the nerves there of understanding this is not an isolated phenomenon. Like a really large portion of, it's not even just right wingers either. There's a huge following for Candace who believes every single word and is waiting for any little slip up like that. And so the stakes are high, and as I was watching some of the Turning Point spokespeople, they were definitely giving her even more fuel, I'll say. Some of the other similar turns of phrase have really dark, underlining meaning. But I mean, it's not that Candace, I think, is, I don't think she, which is why I think she could also kind of be hoping this doesn't happen. It's not like she's the best when she gets confronted either. Y'all remember this was a while ago now, but after the assassination, she did the CNN interview, and like this was a kind of rough back and forth for her.
Do not believe that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. I want to be very clear on that. Whether he was involved, I think the answer is yes. I think that's obvious.
And your basis for saying he didn't act alone is what?
I don't know, maybe the weird Fed messages that were concocted out of thin air that had no timestamp and were written like they were speaking in 1822, among other things. Their lack of an ability to answer any basic questions about what took place.
But do you have any proof that the messages were made up? Because that would be easily proven.
Yeah, but they didn't put timestamps on them, and Discord came out and said they didn't exist.
This was supposedly text messages, not Discord messages. It's my understanding from the indictment.
I actually did not read that they were text messages.
The indictment calls them text messages.
What would it...
Do not...
Who's to say? So there's that, and then let me see if I have this video of Candace saying, I want ERIKA there. I want her there.
If you are saying that on the 15th, ERIKA KIRK, as you are insinuating that she's going to be there, right? She's directing this thing. Are you implying here that she's going to actually be in the chair and she's willing to allow me to bring things and to go over timelines and stuff? Like, can you make that offer through the proper channels? Can you actually say that, since you now have more details about how it's going to work, and reopen that offer again? There's no way in hell that George can make the 15th work. I just said it.
That's her husband, George Farmer, I think. And I hope this is the clip, but I think it is. I think on this topic, her saying there's just no way he can make it work. But if ERIKA's there, he might be able to make it work.
Interesting.
There's no way. There's just no way. Okay? I mean, you wouldn't believe the obligation we have that day. And also, if ERIKA's there, we can make it work.
That George can make the 15th work. I just said it. No, he shut it down immediately, and for a very valid reason. And it is not my inclination to go to Phoenix without having my team with me. And my husband is very much a part of my team. But I will say that I will raise it further with the Supreme Court of George Farmer. If you are insinuating, and actually if you can confirm that you are saying that you will allow me, as you said further in this, to bring whatever it is because it would be more authentic if it was face-to-face. If you're saying that I don't have to deal with you and this is actually going to be very open and I can ask every question under the sun, I might beg. So I would love to hear from Turning Point USA.
You know what's interesting too is from what I know about almost everyone involved here, from my perspective, yes, just put my political bias, being opposed to the political project that almost all the people I'm showing you are engaged in. But also just from their track records, it's like there's not one of the people you could go to and be like, this person's always been really trustworthy. It's like this voice or that voice, as all the examples I'm going to keep showing you. Tim Pool's coming up and he's criticizing Candace a lot. But it's like no one in this story is trustworthy, and including we're dealing with, which doesn't justify all the random things that Candace says, but we are dealing with a Trump administration that we don't trust. And so I see why even there are some liberals that I'll see popping up in comments and stuff whenever liberal channels like mine cover the Candace of it all, that are like, well, she's not wrong. Maybe Trump did order the hit. I don't know, right? And I get why, because of just the utter lies that pour out of the Trump administration. Kash Patel, who's, I guess, in some way overseeing this investigation. Dan Bongino, Lord help us. We're going to look at him a little bit later, admitting, being like, well, listen, I said other things when I was a podcaster because I was paid for my opinion, but now we're trying to follow the facts more. It's a different job. In that job, it was more like, this is fun. This is more of a facts job. So no one's trustworthy, which I get then makes people go, okay, well then I'm just gonna wing it and believe whatever. I would encourage you all from a place of love in my heart. And if I see any of you being vicious, you're going to get a spanking. I'm going to bring it up with the Supreme Court of Jaden. Why did I? No, that analogy doesn't make sense. He's not my husband, by the way, in that analogy. But I just wanted to slip back in that she said that about her husband. Weird. But what was I even saying? That's what we need to get to the bottom of, is what was I saying? What was the point that I was getting to?
China!
Oh, that I'm going to spank people if they're vicious, because this is this community is a love community. But I'd really encourage you all to make sure that just how for so long we've criticized a lot of the MAGA conspiracies, and I've gone to all these rallies and we've examined how there's a detachment from facts, not trusting certain institutions and the individuals leading them at a given time, which the federal institutions that are run by Trump affiliated people, I get why we wouldn't trust them, and I don't. Doesn't mean you then get to believe whatever you want. You still should try to navigate yourself with facts, not just, who can I trust? Whatever I want now, because it's a very untrustworthy environment. And we did, if you look up, they're lying to you about the KIRK shooter on my channel. Way back when some of these theories started going viral, I tried to bring us back a little bit to just a factual approach to the story, not knowing how deep it was going to get at that point in time. It was just a few days after, but I talked with Tim Miller and kind of examined some of that, because I am seeing that it's just so easy for people in this environment where engagement sells to prioritize the most interesting, salacious thing over what actually has some factual basis to it. So that's just my little PSA to all of you. Then you heard Candace mention ERIKA there. I want ERIKA there. And Supreme Court Justice George Farmer might be able to prove it if ERIKA's there, which then really makes me confused about what's this obligation you have if it could possibly be changed and he might give you permission, which I never remember. Happiest couple that I've ever known, the one that I look up to is my parents. I've never seen them talk that way about each other. My mom has never been like, I will see if I can submit an inquiry to your father and see if His Highness will bless us with mercy today. I'm like, Dad, the dude you sleep with in your bed, that guy? I mean, like at night, I mean, like the person that you share a bed with. Why are you talking about him like that? He's right here. Dad? Where's Dad? I don't know what's happening. This is getting weird. I don't know where this is going. So ERIKA didn't respond to that, but was kind of speaking about the general allegations that are being made, I think.
Wanting to seek truth. What I find interesting about our party is that right now there is a lot of shuffling and mixing up, and I feel like when things are shuffling and mixing up, they're falling into place in a different way.
What do you mean by shuffling and mixing up?
I mean like infighting.
Yes. Who are you talking about?
Well, I mean, you can just...
You know who she's talking about. You know. Don't say her name. She might appear. Don't say it.
Pick out whatever name, but when there's infighting just in general, I'm not talking about extensively just politicians. I'm talking about just in general, whether that's influencers, whether that's other voices within the right. There's a lot of uprising. But there's also something, and again, this goes back to my faith, and I just am going to preface this from the standpoint of, I truly believe that the Lord uses everything, and so for me, what I see that as opportunity.
Yeah, I don't really understand what's being said there, but I guess she's just saying God has a plan. Maybe we could sum it up that way. Now we get to Tim Pool, who you would think previously was an ally of Candace's, and would be in the same movement, quote unquote, probably went to the same inauguration parties and the same, that kind of affiliation. But he's now on a warpath against Candace. And before I show you some of those clips, it would feel weird to talk about him and not mention that I saw this news break before we went live. He said, last night a vehicle approached our property and opened fire. No one was hurt. Our security team is reviewing the incident. We'll be relaying the report to appropriate law enforcement. This is the price we pay for speaking out against evil. And so that's horrible, obviously, and I am glad that everybody's okay. Very scary, and terrible things like this keep happening. And also the response afterwards, I still have not seen a single thing about who did that. But all of the MAGA accounts, again, jumped on this is the left, this is, right, kind of the characterization of when an individual act of violence happens, this is the entire Democratic Party, like that messaging, which is number one, dangerous, whoever the person was. If it was a lunatic who was on the left, you still wouldn't characterize, just like how we shouldn't whenever it's a MAGA person being violent, an entire movement of people who the leaders of that movement will say they're against it, that is represented, and that acts against them, characterizing them as super violent, would be justified, right? So like that, regardless, is wrong. But also, we don't know anything about who this was, and the most prominent person Tim Pool's been clashing with right now has been Candace. So we really don't know in this political environment. It could be someone, I'm not saying, I don't know. It could be someone supportive of her, mad at him for the rage he's been directing at her, or it could be someone who doesn't like him from a left-wing perspective. So let's just be cautious as I beg people over and over, but that's not what sells on social media. So then here's Candace responding to a clip of Tim Pool talking about her.
28, and it's because she's a piece of shit. Because instead of saying, guys, let's come together and figure out how to work together, she says the stupidest crap, and now everybody's running around divided and broken. For what reason? For literally what reason?
Because they killed Charlie Kirk in broad daylight, and we don't care about your stupid midterms. We just don't care.
Oh, and that was this was cut off a little bit, but that was the beginning of the clip, was him saying, if Republicans lose the midterms, it's going to be because of Candace, which, say what you will about Candace, if Republicans lose the midterms, it's going to be because of Trump being terrible and his policies not working. Let's just be honest. This is very influential, and it is it's not small. She does have a huge audience. It does have an effect. Online does impact the real world, but like the thing that really sways an election is people's material conditions go one way or the other. And Trump is going to be the one that I think we can blame for that mostly. But he's just upset, I guess, that the right is being really fractured. And it's interesting. There's a very like doom and gloom mentality already building among, I was watching some of Tim Pool's stream yesterday where they're just kind of like, we're going to lose the midterms. Everything, we're about to start losing again. Things are terrible. It's like, wow, that I feel like it was 2 seconds ago that it was golden age. The libs are, not going to say that word, are crushed. Not dead, crushed. They have been flattened under the tire of Trump. He can't drive a car, but I love Tesla. They've been flattened under the Tesla tire. Yeah. And the inauguration, you remember? Do you remember there was this guy at one of the inauguration events that was like a real eccentric guy. He just kept jutting his hand out like in this sort of Nazi way. And they were like so excited. It was just like such an exciting time for them. You remember that? It's like, whoa, we've flipped around. And now even from a political perspective, it's like we're going to lose again. The country hates us again, which is interesting. But do you hear what she said? She said, because they killed Charlie Kirk. He was talking about Republicans losing the midterm. So I guess Republicans, which is another thing that they don't like is that, you remember, despite us all being, or everyone should have been, we were horrified by a heinous public act of violence, in this case murder, and that should be completely opposed. We also had to quickly, because of how quickly it became political, address the dangerous things that were being said by people of all different political ideologies in different cases. But what's relevant to this is there was like a MAGA reaction of, now this is war with the left. They're all violent, right? What I was referencing before. And so part of it is a lot of the MAGA influencers don't like that Candace is making this no longer a left-wing attack against Kirk. And now it's more of like a international plot endorsed by Trump to kill him. Right. And that definitely kind of takes the momentum out of a set of talking points that were really being repeated to kind of weaponize this horrific event for the purposes of dividing against the left. But if she's turning it around and saying, no, it's all of y'all, Turning Point and Trump and Macron, etc., then that definitely confuses an audience that was getting really riled up about this is war against the left now. And so that was a part of what Tim Pool was upset about, and then feeling like it's going to hurt them in the midterms. And then her response is, well, they killed him, so.
A daylight, and we don't care about your stupid midterms. We just don't care. Like, they really, this is how they view Charlie Kirk. That's what I say. Was anything in his life real? Tim Pool is going off right now because he's like, it's not the time. You guys need to be mules. You need to keep voting in the very corrupt people that are lying to your faces right now about what happened to Charlie Kirk. It is not the time because it is your job to get people into office. This is what I mean when I suggest that nothing in Charlie Kirk's life was real. So he really thinks he's doing something there. And actually what he's doing is proving my point. These people just saw Charlie as a means to an end, okay? As a political horse that they could ride. And so for whatever reason, they got tired riding him. And now they're angry because they also were going to whip the horse, the ghosts.
All right, this metaphor is going a little bit off the tracks. The metaphor is just a wee bit out of bounds for me. Once we're talking about writing, I'm just a little bit, okay? I just need to pause for a second because I don't want it to look like I'm laughing at a serious subject. So I just need to be here. Now you can't clip this. Look at this. This is just me. You don't know what I'm talking about. It was just the wording there was interesting. Yeah, I agree on that point that maybe Republicans, what's the point of even voting in the midterms? You know, like, what's the point? Who cares about the midterms, Republicans? Then Tim Pool said, Candace is so effing easily played. Okay. Now we get to Wacko Zone. I want to address something. Here's Milo Yiannopoulos. We just did a long segment about him on Tucker Carlson's show, and Tucker has this obsession with trying to prove that homosexuality is like not real, or that it's a product of propaganda, or, you know, he's in fixated state, really wanting to hear deep details about the gay. And we talked about that. Milo was the person. He's about to say more stuff here when he was on Tim Pool's show. I do just want to say, when we did that segment about Milo Yiannopoulos, I didn't know he had like a real, supposedly I saw someone post online, I think he referenced it at some point in this stream, like a real health issue or physical ailment of some kind that was causing his eyes to be notable, and like how they were crossing and moving and stuff, and like him closing one of his eyes. I just have heard so much, even personally, about he has like a persona of being on drugs, and so I thought he was just like going into this Tucker interview like whoa, and that's why his eyes were going crazy. I feel bad if it's true that he has an actual condition of some sort that caused that appearance. So I do apologize. Whatever I feel about him, about being insensitive, if there's something more going on there. And even if it is drugs, if there's addiction, that also is sensitive. So I just apologize for that, because the last segment, I did make a lot of fun of that. I didn't know it was, I forget what the person said in terms of the particular issue, but that I try not to make fun of, so. But this we can. What he's about to say here.
I'm always a couple of days behind watching on the show because I've got stuff going on. But somebody tweeted today that Candace said that she believed that they were about to get a divorce. I think he was gay, I think he was gay.
You ready? Do you know who's on the podcast with him? Okay, y'all. This is about to be a jump scare. Y'all don't even know who's about to pop up on screen, and you're not. There's just a very small chance you could guess. Do you remember who we saw in the airport just recently?
Oh, no way. Is it Santos?
Yeah.
Oh, my
George
God.
Santos. Guys, we saw him in the, where were we? Nashville airport. When we went to Nashville. And there was something so deeply sad about George Santos's being. And I think I'll mostly leave it there. But I just want to say there was something so deeply sad where we were waiting for our Uber. It's late at night. We're tired. And we look next to us, and George is standing there. And I just had this feeling wash over me of like, aw. What? Just the vibe of him was a really sad vibe. I guess that's the only way I could word it without getting more specific and potentially mean. So I'll leave it there. But he was on this podcast, and after he heard Milo saying that Milo thought Charlie was gay and that he was about to leave ERIKA, Milo's known for, he just throws out random stuff. He just throws out random thoughts he has. But he even said, which proves that he's not reliable, that he heard that Candace said that. I've not seen Candace say that. For all the things she has said, that's one thing she'll get to it. I'm sure she'll get to it, but she hasn't said that yet. Maybe he means she was saying it behind the scenes or something, which would be crazy to just be spreading that rumor. And then I just want to add one other thing. I have a good gaydar, and I don't think Charlie Kirk was gay. Doesn't matter either way, right? MAGA? Do you agree? No, you don't. Okay, but it wouldn't matter. But I don't. That was not true. From my instincts.
And
come on, you know that I've criticized.
What? Like I'm sorry, Tim, but like, why would you even go there? Like to say something like that?
I'll tell you why.
No. The man's dead. You're calling now. You think he's gay.
That's when people can tell the truth.
Yikes. So George Santos jumping in to try to be the voice of reason. He's like, Milo, lying is bad. Now, it's fine to lie about your mom, your schooling, your sports history, your work history, and every other thing. But don't lie about that. Ugh. It's so funny for him to be like, don't lie. George, you were stealing people's... What was he doing? I can never remember. You were like trying to impersonate Kevin McCarthy to fundraise or something like that. Okay? I don't know if you're the right person for this. And I really don't like Tim Pool. I've been on the show now, 3 times maybe? And I don't like him. I don't like him as a person. Not to mention his politics. But for the first time in my life, I feel really, really bad. He had to sit in the room with Milo and George Santos. Can you imagine? I feel so bad. Now I just remember what we just talked about. I also feel really bad that something terrible seems to have just happened. But we're having fun. Shut up. Let's have fun for a second. And that must be tough. Because there's like a green room before. So he's having to sit there and like hang out and maybe get food after with Milo and George.
I think the idea that Charlie would want her to advocate everyone pull their donations from the organization he built.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
No one hates Charlie more than Candace Owens. Let me say that very, very clearly. I want to say it straight to the camera for all of her biggest fans, and then she can grab this clip and put it on her show. I do think it's absolutely hilarious that we're substantially smaller shows than hers, but she brought us up anyway. So thanks for saying my name, Candace. No one hated Charlie Kirk more than Candace Owens. She reviles him, she spits on his grave, and she smiles while doing it. Okay, quote over. And I'll say this because Charlie spent his life building out these organizations.
And then he goes further. Yeah. Very Tim Pool. That whole thing was very Tim Pool. But, okay, good. Good. And then you have Nick Fuentes. I never know what the proper label is for him. For all of their talk of like, oh, libs are so sensitive. He gets so sensitive when people say the wrong word. What is it whenever you have like 100 clips of you being like, Hitler's the best? What's the word for that? Whatever that is what he is, okay? So, but then now he's like, no, but that was like when I was zany in my youth. But then I'll show you a clip of him yesterday, I think. So we'll see. Where he went, I don't actually like Hitler that much. He was cool, but like Stalin was cooler. So we'll look at that in a second. Whatever that is, white nationalist, neo-Nazi, okay. He is actually gaining a lot of an audience right now. And this is what starts to get confusing. Because I would think that he wouldn't have any qualms about the whole Candace thing. He had a semi-friendly interview with her, but then right afterwards, then they had a falling out, and then Candace calls Nick a Fed. Okay, it's like a government asset of some sort, working with the intelligence agency. So she calls him a Fed. He calls Tucker Carlson a Fed. Tucker Carlson called Nick Fuentes a Fed, and now Elon is calling Nick Fuentes a Fed. So we'll try to track all that through this, but he's, I guess, not on the Candace train. There's Elon. I don't know why you had that ready so quickly. And here is what Nick was saying.
If she's so afraid for her life, why was she at Tucker Carlson's Christmas party in Nashville last night?
His mannerisms are wild. Why was he in Tucker Carlson's party last night? And I wasn't even invited. Look at the length of that finger. Shoo-wee. Okay, so you can take that down. Hey, y'all heard. Vile. What's the terms they don't like when he... Reprehensible human being. Okay, he happens to have been correct about that. I guess Candace... Despite there, according to her, being an assassination plot out against her by the Macrons, she was at Tucker's Christmas party, which I feel like would be a pretty easy way to find her. If that, but maybe Tucker might have really good security. Maybe that's the best place she could be. Because maybe like a lot of people there, it'd be too bad. I don't know. I can't keep up. But that is an interesting thing. Like, I'm going underground. Because they're coming for me, the international plot, and but I do have that Tucker party. Okay, I'll go to that, then I'll go underground, then I'll go into witness protection. If by some crazy chance that ends up getting proven real, I'm gonna look like the biggest bleep ever. I'm just assuming, surely not, right? But she was at that party, so that's what he's referencing. And disclaimer, if the world gets turned upside down and the Macrons really did that, then sorry.
Why was she at Dollywood on Thanksgiving, the theme park? So allegedly the French government and the Israeli intelligence have put a hit out on you. They've paid millions of dollars to kill you, but you're walking around a theme park in your town. You're walking around, for those that don't know, Dollywood, Dollyland. It's like Dolly Parton's Disney World. You're walking around Disney World? You're walking around an amusement park in your hometown on the holiday weekend when allegedly everyone's trying to kill you? Then you go to a Christmas party with Tucker Carlson in the same city attended by hundreds of people, and people know you're going to be there with Tucker and all the based people in one room, but you can't go to Turning Point where everybody knows you're going to be. And if anything happened to you, God forbid, they would immediately blame Turning Point. It doesn't even make any sense. So she says, I'm going to live stream the live stream and I'm going to fact check it in real time. Why? I think we all know why. She's totally full of shit.
So again, the old lines of division in the right are all torn apart. Because again, Candace just tried to do like a, hey, maybe we could get along thing. And they had that interview, but then it blew up after that. So then he's all the way on the no to her. And you know, people brought that up. I don't know. I haven't really heard her respond to her going out and about. Maybe she's thinking now that she exposed it, then now they wouldn't be able to. But then I heard a lot of people saying she probably doesn't want to go to Turning Point USA to do a debate because they could kill her. And it's like, really? Is that really? Okay. All right. Have fun out there, I guess, with all those ideas. It's probably a wild Hollywood movie you're watching all the time, people. You think Blake is going to like poison her? There's real acts of violence, real facts behind them. And then there's this, even Nick, who was just making fun of her for that, said, I think in that same episode, that he was afraid. Get a load of this, okay? He was afraid when he went to do the interview with Tucker that Tucker was going to kill him. Guys, I have met so many fellow liberal commentators, and I never even once thought one of them was going to kill me over dinner. I have a beef with one of them. Even he wouldn't kill me. Because I'm in the right, so why would he? But no, I'm not telling you still. So, but like one time I went to dinner, I told the story on the bonus show, great dinner, great people. And David Patman was there, Jesse Dollamore, the amazing Brittany Page, all there, right? And Jesse, like if you got on the wrong side of Jesse, he could mess you up. By the way, the people in this story are all the good people. In case you were trying to connect it, they're all the good people. Jesse could mess you up. David could definitely poison you. He would definitely poison you. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But I wasn't even wondering. I wasn't wondering like, oh, did he slip something and I'm about to die? I can't imagine going to all these interviews with people who are supposedly on your side. And Nick thinks Tucker's going to kill him. Candace thinks Turning Point USA is going to kill her. I'm sure Nick was worried Candace was going to kill him when he went to her interview. It's a scary world out there, I guess. Goodness gracious. Now, I get concerned when I go to like the bar fight thing I did with the Daily Wire or I do lots of things. Busy guy. All the other ones. Then I'll get concerned about, is there good security if some random person tries to kill, not me, but like tries to do violence because there's a lot of notable political people at this event or something. That I do think about. It's not that you shouldn't, in this political environment, have good reason to want good protection. It's just when they start saying Tucker's going to do it, a Turning Point, it's like, wow, that's a wild world to be living in. Now we pick back up on this Milo podcast with Tim Pool.
That's correct. No. Is she carpet bombing the world with lies? Absolutely not.
When she said this feels like an inside job.
It does.
What does?
It does.
What does?
The conspiracy of silence.
But no.
That's my trick on this show, okay? That's my thing.
What's conspiracy
When someone
of
else is like
silence?
getting to a good point. That's my thing.
Again, like let me point this out.
The astronomically inadequate explanations given, in my view, for the actions before, at, and after Charlie's death, and the behavior afterwards from both the federal government and Turning Point executives.
You think
to say
they're not
nothing
saying-
of his deeply, deeply sinister wife.
What?
ERIKA?
No, he's.
How is she sinister? No, Milo, please educate
Genuine
me.
question, do you know?
No, hold on. No, hold on. Please explain to me, how is ERIKA KIRK sinister?
Have you seen the difference in the size of her hands with Charlie's in their wedding pictures, and then compared it to him in his casket?
Are you saying she's a man?
No, I'm saying that wasn't Charlie in there.
What are you talking? Come on.
I'm saying there's something up. There's something up.
So you're saying he's hidden?
I'm not saying he's hidden. I'm not saying he's still alive somewhere. I don't.
On an island with Epstein? It's like where all the fake murders go or something? Is that what he's saying? What is he saying?
No, but his body hasn't been buried. Did they lose it? It happens.
It happens. Do you think there's a possibility that Charlie is alive?
I think it's vanishingly slight. I think it's probably the most.
So you even give it a slight? Okay.
I don't believe, but I get the Epstein theories about him being alive. Like, again, it's not true, but I get why you could, because it's like, well, the body, blah, 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 was moved, right? So you can kind of, we watched on video the KIRK killing. That one is, what do you mean it's vanishingly slight? Slight? What percentage are we talking? We watched it. That doesn't seem, even for Milo, that seems far-fetched.
Of course it's possible. And the behavior of some of the Turning Point people makes me wonder. I tweeted today for the first time ever. I didn't name him, but just thinking aloud, do you think he's still alive?
But you think there's a possibility they faked his death?
Yes.
But then why wouldn't Candace say something more to that degree?
It's probably the most difficult thing to prove.
And so why won't Candace call out ERIKA?
She has.
I don't... You see what I mean? Once you open the floodgates of just say whatever you want to say, just have fun out there, throw it out for fun, for engagement, then everyone just goes, well, I'll try. I'll raise you, right? I'll one-up you. So my thing is going to be, actually, he's alive, because no one said that. So that's riveting. Where? Maybe not. Well, who knows? Why won't they disprove me? Weird. I haven't gotten a response yet to my inquiry about him being alive. Maybe it's true then. Okay, so we just watched, let me just remind you before I show you this next clip. This is going to be our first over an hour, one segment. For our main show viewers, I have 5 other stories. I don't know if we'll get to them all. 5 other stories prepared for you. I did not know this would take so long. But just remember that Milo just said this.
Are you gay? Were you gay? Like, what is gay? Nobody's gay. In almost every...
Nobody's gay, he claimed, which is obviously one of the most ridiculous statements in the world, especially coming from the guy who himself is gay, but tries to pretend to be ex-gay, and accuses everyone of being gay. And so let's just get the list, right? I can't think of all of them, but he's accused Nick. That's more... Again, you shouldn't out people regardless. Sometimes with the Nicks of the world, you would...
Please come press...
Was that on purpose? Okay, Cole. Cole said that was on accident. I love when he flinches. And it's never one of the normal sound bites. It's never China. It's always, please come, President Trump. Okay, all right. So... You have that, Nick, like you sometimes outing people whenever they're really anti-gay can be a way to cast doubt on the harmful rhetoric they're spewing about being anti-gay, because you're going, wait, but I have proof that you are, so hypocrite, right? So that's a little bit, but then he accused Charlie KIRK, which I think I haven't seen such evidence, I don't really even know the relevance. And now you'll never guess who he's about to Do you know? Did I tell you who the last person that he accuses? Because you could get the soundbite ready. Once he mentions it, I'll pause the video and you can do it. There's one person, right? You have a list of people. Nick, he could be gay. Charlie, I don't think so. And then there's one person that he's about to say, which again, wouldn't matter either way, but let's all just be honest here. There's one person that if there is a sexuality spectrum, you have gay, you got like bi here, right? So you can be kind of like, you're kind of over a little bit close here, but you're a little curious. You got straight over here, okay? Bi. Okay, got it? There's one person all the way over here. Not me. All the way over here, okay? And apparently Milo has it on good authority that even he is gay, despite Milo going on Tucker and saying no one is. Here we go.
As a result of it.
What about Alex?
And he does it. I just wish Alex would tell the truth about his sexuality. But you...
I never sucked any ding-dongs.
That was not the one I thought you were going to play. Just give... What? Alex, we're actually going to get a live feed of Alex Jones responding to Milo making that statement. Take a listen. I guess he didn't any ding dongs. I guess he didn't say gay. He said honest about his sexuality. So maybe he means something else. Like, he does kind of seem like the type of person who would be into animals. Like that I wouldn't. What's that called? I always forget. What's that
Bestiality?
Called? Bestiality. I'm not saying Alex Jones has sex with animals. What I'm saying is that I'm just asking, right? I've watched a lot over the last 24 hours of Candace to prepare this segment, and it's taught me that I'm just asking. I'm curious, and it's weird. It's suspicious to me that he hasn't responded to these bestiality allegations. We have heard from people, sources, horses. I almost said cantaloupe. That doesn't mean that's not an animal. Antelope? Lions. When he took a trip to a safari, he played around with that. We've gotten, this is less verified, but we're checking it now, which is snakes. And I don't really get that one. Like, the mammals are like, that's horrible, but the snake one kind of is confusing to me. And so we're trying to understand that one. We'll get back to you tomorrow on it. And all I'm saying is it wouldn't shock me if Alex Jones were into bestiality. And I just think he should answer our allegation. Otherwise, a little suspicious. But I'm just curious. I'm just asking. So yeah, he said that about Alex. Kind of interesting. There's more Tim Pool clips. I think you get it on that. He's not having it with Candace. And then, this is interesting. Totally unrelated. This is why facts matter. A lot of these folks said whatever they wanted about COVID vaccines and lied, and people died because of it. And you now have one of the largest COVID-19 vaccine studies ever, now that you've had some time to see the long-term effects. 28 million people in France. Here's what she's referring to. Boom, shaka laka. And the result, 74% lower risk of death from severe COVID-19, 25% lower risk of all-cause mortality, no increase in 4-year mortality. Vaccinated people had a lower risk of death from any cause. In short, mRNA vaccines weren't just safe, they were protective across the board. So just kind of keep that in mind when a lot of people act like we learned coming out of COVID that the conspiracy theorists were correct about the vaccine. They were very much not. Millions of lives were saved, and millions of lives were saved because of the vaccine. Millions of lives probably were lost because people didn't have the vaccine, for the people who didn't have it. And so I did just want to update you on that. And that is your hour-long breakdown. Now you know of what's going on with the whole TPUSA Candace clash.